how these kind of events are more important than ever, because like bringing together people, that's where the true magic happens.
Here with Marisa Krummrich. So to dive right in, I'd like to start off with the beginning of your career when you joined McKinsey. There's often the stereotype that McKinsey consultants are very overworked and there's no work-life balance. Could you maybe give us a little bit of insight if the stereotype is true, and maybe how you managed it with the stress and how your experience was general at McKinsey?
Sure. So for me, joining McKinsey was about two things. The people, for one. I'd met a lot of consultants at McKinsey before I started working there. And then number two was the projects, because I just really wanted that, exposure to exciting topics, strategic topics, working with top management across different companies that I think otherwise is very hard to get access to when you're just starting out your career. And both of those things contributed that I really had an amazing time at McKinsey. It is definitely long hours. They tell you this beforehand, and yes, it's not a 9-to-5 job. And they, pay attention to having realistic expectations beforehand. They also, I would really say my experience was that they try and enable you to have a good balance, have time that you need for sports, for example, for fitness, take the time to be with your friends and your family. Of course, there's situations where you sort of put the project first maybe. And, that's, I think, an individual decision you need to make in the first few years of your career. Are you willing to do that? And I decided for me, yes, I wanted to do that. And I thought it was very rewarding. And, I really enjoyed spending time with the people that I worked with. So it made it a very fun experience for me.
Oh, very cool. Was there maybe a favorite project that you worked on, or the most memorable one?
Yeah, so I worked a lot in McKinsey Leap, which is our venture building department, where also my passion for startups came from. And I specifically focused on healthcare and life sciences there, which is a focus also I took forward into my career now. And I had one project where we built, without naming the company, but we built one basically healthcare player that improved the quality of health in emerging markets. And I was lucky enough to manage that project, and it was amazing for me because it was one of my favorite topics. Very, very purposeful to improve health quality in emerging markets. And I'm still seeing now their posts on LinkedIn, it's sort of they're thriving, they expanded to another country, they had this many appointments that they successfully did, and that was really, really, really cool. Great team spirit as well.
That sounds very interesting, especially because you're working together with them and then putting your own inputs, and then after seeing how they impact the world and making it a better place. Yeah, very cool. And then my next question would be, now you mentioned it that you were interested in venture, but then you did the transition from when you quit McKinsey and then you went to B2 Venture. Was it something that you always wanted to do, or that you figured out there?
Yeah, I think it was more a step-by-step thing for me, because I come more from a computer science background than a business background. And so for me, I was always very interest-driven in tech. I really enjoyed, learning about innovation, understanding how does the latest technology work. And then I started out with digital strategy projects, which is I would say, typical McKinsey project. You work for the large conglomerate. And that was great, but they do move kind of slow. And so that's why I went first into Leap. And then I realized, I want to work even closer with founders, and started also in my personal time building out a network, speaking with founders, speaking with investors, started putting my toes into angel investing. And from there, it sort of naturally emerged at some point that, actually VC is a really cool career option. And then I was lucky enough to meet the right people and meet the B2 Venture team and join.
Very cool. So now you obviously had a speech about AI and how it influences VC. What do you think are some industries that are going to be the most affected by AI? Maybe the most positive and also the most negative?
Yeah, good question. So I think most industries are going to be affected by AI at some point. I think there's some that are going to be affected sooner and some later. And we do see that especially heavily regulated industries are we're struggling more to adopt AI because there's more challenges, especially in the European ecosystem. We also touched upon this briefly with the EU AI Act. But I think the first ones that we're already seeing, which are really quick at adopting, are industries like e-commerce, where, for example, Klarna ran a huge campaign that they used a lot of AI-generated material for. And that's obviously cool to see because it's a real-world impact, real-world use. So the more creative and free, I would say, the earlier the impact is. And then other industries, maybe banking, are going to be slower to adopt. Or life sciences, for example, which I'm personally still very interested in, are also a bit slower to adopt because it's just harder to implement from a regulatory standpoint, but then also the cycles of, getting a drug from the AI generation to production are way longer. So I think to answer the second part of your question, I think the innovation aspect of it is positive in most aspects. I think there's this huge productivity gain that we're seeing, and in life sciences, which is why I'm so drawn to it. If you are quicker at producing better drugs for people, that's amazing. That's like great positive impact from AI. There's drawbacks to it, obviously. Like there's dangers around, AI biases that you sort of need to watch out for. There is a potential loss of specific jobs, which may impact then the more creative roles. If you're going to AI generate all of your images, you maybe don't need those photographers anymore. So obviously that's a negative impact. I think we're going to see both across sectors. It's not fully black and white to me. And we do sort of try to watch out for it as well as the societal impact and rather invest in the startups with good impact.
So what do you think is your favorite kind of industry to focus on? You said life sciences.
Yeah.
Is there any particular project that you're working on right now, or like any specific sector in that field that you?
Yes. We have recently finalized an investment with a team in this sector that I unfortunately can't mention. I almost spilled the beans before. Had to catch myself. So that's a team we're particularly excited about working with, who are developing a developer solution in the AI sector. So for the sort of back end of pharma companies building out their stacks. And I would say those stages of drug development, how you're applying AI to it, is something that's really, really interesting to me, where a lot of founders are putting in the groundwork at the moment. Besides that, what I also really am interested in is sort of this category of truly AI native companies, where we see AI sometimes as an enabler. Maybe your task gets done quicker or more efficiently, but then sometimes founders come and really rethink, what does an experience look like? And to give an example, we work with CRMs a lot. I don't know if you... so basically, all the information of the company, all the contacts, all the startups we speak with are in there. And so many companies work with CRMs, and it's a pain usually because they are very table-based. And rethinking that and saying, hey, how about instead you have like this personal assistant in your pocket that you can just, as you would with a human, ask, when did I last speak with the people from Idea Lab, for example, brief me on it, and what was our last topic of conversation. That's a completely different way of thinking about software, and that's something that I'm really excited about as well, just taking some experience and rethinking it with the capabilities we have now.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, but then this podcast is probably aimed at a lot of students and people just beginning their careers. What would you say is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's interested in VC? What are some skills maybe, or like practical experiences that they should have before joining?
Yeah, great question. So I think the passion and interest for startups, this is maybe an obvious thing to say, but that really helps. And then I think generally what helps, or what has helped me a lot in my career, is figure out where your skills and passion overlap and what do you end up reading in your free time. So if you have maybe a newsletter that you really enjoy reading on a Sunday morning, what is it about that intrigues you? Is it learning about a specific industry? Is it a specific set of skills? And then from there, think back to VC, there's early stage VC and then there's growth stage VC, and they're completely different. It's about completely different things. So, and you're going to have a different set of tasks. So do you enjoy speaking with founders who have like a vague concept? Then maybe early stage is more for you. If you're a numbers person, you like to have more tangible, market validation, and it's maybe later stage. So go from there and then just try to get in touch with the people, I think, and speak with them, understand what the job is about, build out your network, and then go from there. Usually this is, I think, advice that is given a lot, but it holds true so far in my experience. Follow your passions, and then the rest usually falls into place a bit easier.
Okay, and then to finish off, we ask everyone the quick 3.
Yeah.
So maybe just say one sentence or the first word that comes to mind, to maybe bring some fun into the conversation as well. Would you say you're an early bird or a night owl?
Ooh. Both, probably. I aspire to be more of an early bird, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then if you could have one superpower for a day, what would it be?
I would love to have like God mode stats for life. If I were to pose any question, almost, those movies where you're looking back on life and you can see statistics about this is what's happening here in the world, I would love to have that.
Yeah. Oh, very interesting answer. And then the last one, if you could describe Idea Lab in one word, what would it be?
Fun and innovation is 2, but
okay. Thank you for coming on today. It was lovely to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the event.
Very much. Thank you so much.